Thank you, Andrea, for giving the opportunity to talk about Microsoft Orleans. I'm not sure how many people are aware about this framework. It's a very good framework from the Microsoft research team. So if you can put a yes or no in the chat, that will help me understand if you know a little bit about or heard about Microsoft Orleans before this or not. Cool. I think Paul had some experimentation. Good, good. No problem. So this is going to be a very introductory session. The reason being, not many people are aware about this framework, but it has a lot of opportunities present in the framework. So I won't be going much deep into the framework side. I'll just try to make you comfortable with what is Orleans and how we can start with that one. And for any further questions, we can have a discussion maybe in the end. I'll restrict myself for the questions to the end. The reason being, we have another guest speaker lined up, so I don't want to take his time as of now. So I request you to keep your questions with yourself, and maybe in the end we can have it. I can answer those questions. If not, I'll try to answer it through some other uh, social channel such as Twitter. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so just let me know if you are able to see the screen. Good.
Yes.
Okay, so today's topic is about building distributed application using Microsoft Orleans. So let's begin. Okay, so before going further, let me introduce myself. So I'm working as a cloud architect at Harman. It's a Samsung company, and they are mainly into audio domain. So I feel that you might have heard about JBL speakers, Crown amplifiers. So those are the brands that we have under Harman umbrella. And so the domain that I work on is professional audio, video, and control. And area of expertise is cloud and distributed computing, and area of interest is AI, ML, cloud, and IoT. So I have been exploring AI, ML part of the things for the past 1 year, and I've been quite active on the ML.NET framework, which is from the Microsoft, that supports C Sharp .NET. I'm based out of Bangalore, India, and I'm Azure certified and a member of .NET Foundation. So this is the agenda for today's topic. Okay. Yeah. So we are going to discuss a little bit about actor programming model. And in that, I'll try to cover a little bit about threading, concurrency, what are actors, and what are different actor programming model frameworks available. Then I'll go on to the Microsoft Orleans, wherein I'll talk about the history, about its use cases, and the things present in the Microsoft Orleans, and overview about it. Looks like this thumbnail video looks like it's stuck on my screen. I'll re-share my screen. Just give me a moment. Yeah, that's good. So then I'll walk over some of the components that are present in Orleans. For example, you have grain, silo, and a cluster. These are the major components present in the Orleans. Then I'll move on to the deployment model and the dashboard to see how we can monitor the progress of our actors or the grains present in the framework, and followed by a small demo, an introductory kind of a demo on that. Okay. So when we talk about the actor model, we are not talking about any Bollywood or any Hollywood actor. We are talking about in terms of the programming language, how it works. So basically, there are three things that are of major concern to any programmer. That means the threading, and with threading comes the challenges for the concurrency and the parallelism. So if you look at the diagram here, the concurrency is more about performing a task on a single machine with multiple threads. So each thread takes its own time and it works one by one. So you can't process the things parallelly here. And there is a chance that they may be sharing the same state because they are within the same process. So managing the order, managing the state or the access to the state becomes a challenge for the developer. So in order to avoid those things, the developer generally what they do is they introduce locks or semaphores or mutex, any kind of a threading mechanism to overcome the concurrency issues that may arise. Whereas parallelism is about running two threads a single process. They work independently. So it means you need more power here or more infrastructure or the more hardware compared to the concurrency level, where you can work out with the same one, but the main challenge is about the concurrency issues that may arise. So for example, in concurrency you can work simultaneously but not parallel. So there will be a context use. So for example, first activity will be done, then the second will be done, then third, fourth. So there will be a continuous context switch that may happen, and it may lead to a latency in the system. So it's not very good for the systems who needs to have a low latency or a scalability, and that may corrupt the state as well. So it's having a logical distinction. That means one thread will work, then another will work. So at a time, not both the thread will work, and it can be worked with a single core. So here the things will work within a single core. Whereas if you come to the parallelism, the processes are like physically independent. It requires it bears a cost for the infrastructure or the hardware that is required to maintain this parallelism. So in order to have that one, it will bear a cost, extra cost that a person needs to have that one, but it's more of a from the hardware point of view, whereas concurrency is more from a software point of view. So it can parallelism can work in a multi-core environment. So for example, you have two vending machines, each one processing the things parallelly. So it can be done at the simultaneously at the same time, or they can be done in a different time as well. So what is a actor model? So we just saw that there is a challenge with the uh, concurrence systems wherein a person has to, a developer has to introduce logs, then logs gives him nightmare where, for example, if the state gets corrupted, if two threads trying to update the same thing, then he need to introduce a log for that one. Whereas with the actor model, it tries to solve those problems of concurrency by maintaining the state and the behavior in the same object. So when I say a same object, for example, you see here you have a actor, it contains a behavior and a state, both the things. So that means it is responsible for maintaining its own state. And two actors, they communicate through messages. They never ever communicate directly. So once a message is received by a actor, it just processes that message and it internally update its own state. So whatever state it is having, for example, I am having a actor called as an employee, then it's maybe a salary. So salary is volatile kind of field in this one. So from the outside, none of the entities will be able to update the salary of an employee. It is only the actor or the employee actor which is going to update the field of that or the state of that actor employee. So these are the basic responsibilities of an actor. It can create another actor when a message arrives to create another actor. It can be for creating another actor. It can send message to another actor. It can designate next message for the actor. That means what has to be done if a message arrives. What needs to be done for the what processing has to be done for the next message that may arrive. So this is basically invented by Carl Wheat in 1973. It's quite old model that has been introduced, and it was mainly introduced with the Erlang language, and that is purely functional kind of a language, and it's totally based on actor model. So what is an actor? An actor is a computer process with an address. So it has a address through which the actors communicate to each other. So you can't have access to the object. You can only talk to one each to the actors through a as address or a message that is being given to the actor, and they maintain a queue internally that holds the messages within this one so that it can process one message at a time. So that solves the problem of our concurrency here, and it encapsulates state and behavior within it. So as the state is maintained by the actor itself, so the no it's kind of a private state which is not being modified by the external entities. It can be modified only by the actors, not by the external entities. It works on the message processing system. So for example, if we are passing a message here, it is going to the actor and actor is processing. Also, it works on the async communication. So all the communication that is happening within the actor model, it is always asynchronous. So that means none of the resources will be waiting for the it to complete, and they will not be blocked ever. And it works in a single threaded environment. That means any message comes first, it will be processed, then only the next message will be processed. It's not like we are getting multiple messages, then multiple threads will spin up and they will start processing. So that is the advantage of having an actor. That means it only processes one message at a time, and it does in a sequential manner. And there is a location transparency, means if as the communication happens through a message, so one actor doesn't know where the other actor lives. So it need not to know where the other actor lives. It just sends a message, and which is being retrieved by the another actor, and it can work on that one. There is no data sharing. That means the data or the state that is being present in the actor is totally internal to the actor. There are no logs, no thread management or concurrency issues, and this is the reason it is very easy to scale and build. It can build highly performant and fault tolerant systems. Fault tolerance in the sense if the state is being maintained by one actor, it can be replicated to the another actor, so that if any of the actor malfunctions, then that state can be moved to the another actor. But that happens only if we have multiple servers present where the actors are running. And so these are the frameworks that is using actor programming model. So the first one was Erlang, then Akka is being introduced in the world of Java and Scala. Then you have Service Fabric, which is from Microsoft. Akka.NET, it is a porting of Akka from Java. And Proto Actor is a new one. It is very promising. It supports multiple languages, for example, Go, C Sharp, and Java. And this is what we have is the Microsoft Orleans. Okay, now coming to the Microsoft Orleans. So what are the goals that were there for the Microsoft Orleans to be invented? So the first one was it should be simple for developers. That means that they should not be bothered about writing concurrent code or multi-threading code. They should be only focusing on the business logic, not on scalability or fault tolerance and other things. That should be managed by some kind of a runtime or a framework, which Orleans provide. So it should be simple for developers, widely accessible programming model. It should be scalable. So it should be scalable means something that can be deployed to a single or multiple nodes. So if I want my Orlean to work on a single machine, it should work. There should not be a minimum requirement for it to work, or it if it can work for a single machine, and it should work for the multiple machines as well. Whereas if you look at the service fabric, that has a minimum requirement of 3 nodes, where in case of Microsoft Orleans, there is no requirement as such a requirement for having a minimum number of nodes. You can work you can deploy it on your single machine and start working with that one. And third one is the abstracted. Abstract the underlying intricacies of distributed computing or programming. So that means, uh, for example, multi-threading issues, concurrency issues, and a failover, scalability. So all those things has to be abstracted from the developers, and they need not to worry about the instantiation or the life cycle of the actors as well. So with Orleans, these concerns have been totally mitigated, and it comes as a very good framework. So some little overview about the Microsoft Orleans. So it is created by Microsoft research team, and it was open sourced in January 2015. It was built with Azure or cloud in mind. So that means something that can scale to at a cloud level to multiple nodes, thousand of nodes if required. And it's based on virtual actor. So I'll come back on this virtual actor thing in a little bit. It is used in Halo 4 and 5 games. So it's very much popular in the gaming industry, where the latency is required is less, and the payload is less, so things move very fast. So in that case, Orleans comes as a very good option. It is used in various Azure services as well, and it supports multiple deployment. I'll talk on that one. And there are no concurrency issues with the Microsoft Orleans. So these are the use cases. For example, it is used in Xbox. It is used in Azure. Many of the services in Azure use this one. Then Skype uses it. Halo 5 uses it. And some of the companies that I know that use is Honeywell and NCR. So it's a production ready framework, and it's been battle tested for a long time. It's not something that has come very recently, and Microsoft internally Microsoft has been using it aggressively for their own products. Now coming to the components, and so yeah. Okay, so I just talked about actors, what benefit they bring in for the developers and for the application. So that is good enough, but Microsoft always they have a different terminology for actors. They call it as grain. So when they, it's the same thing, but they have just introduced a different concept called as a virtual actor. So the difference between a actor and a virtual actor is a actor in suppose Akka or Akka.net. Client needs to manage the life cycle of a actor there, whereas in virtual actor, the life cycle is maintained by the runtime. It's not maintained by the client. They just need to call, okay, I need this actor. They will, by passing a unique ID, some ID, and they will get that one. How it is how it is getting created, how it is getting destroyed, it's not the job of the developer. So that is the main difference between an actor and a virtual actor. And Grains work on the principle of virtual actor. So as I already talked about, that actor contains a state and a behavior together, and it also holds a identity through which they can be accessed. So these are the basic ingredients of a grain or an actor in Microsoft All-in. For example, you have a user with his email ID, so email ID becomes the unique identity. And it may hold a behavior, means a user may be performing some operations or some adding a salary or something like that. That can be part of the behavior of a grain. And a state. So state, it can be within the memory, for example, along with the grain itself or the actor, or it can be persisted to an external storage provider. So like actor grains are implementation of actors. They have an identity. They are loosely coupled by backed by an interface. So all the grains are accessed by a client through interfaces. So client doesn't know the implementation of a grain. They just work on the interfaces. So that provides a very rich loose coupling, and make the application very extensible, so that if you find another implementation in future, you can easily go and make that change. And they are terminated to free compute resources. So the whole life cycle is being managed by Orleans runtime. So suppose a grain is not being used for some time, then uh, in that case, Orleans will kick in and they will shut down the grain. So there are different strategies present that allows you to manage the life cycle of a grain. And so a grain has a life cycle involved within it. For example, the first one is activating, means whenever a client tries to access a grain or an actor, it comes in an activating stage. That means it's like kind of a initializing, and a user always provide a flexibility, so that you can put some logic while the something is while a grain is activating, and you can perform some operation at that point of time. Once that is done, it moves to the active state, wherein it processes the message that is being provided to the grain. Then comes the deactivating, means if a grain is not being used for some time, or it is lying idle, in that case, Orleans will kick in and start deactivate the grain. And last one is persistent one. So while deactivating, what Orleans does is before during the process of deactivating, it will persist the state that is present in the grain into some storage provider. It can be your SQL server, it can be your Cosmos DB, it can be your MongoDB. So whatever you specify during the configuration of Orleans, that time it will be persisted in that one. And last is like storage. It can be stored in memory, which is kind of a volatile. So once the grain dies, that state will be lost. So if you are working something stateful, then this is not a recommended approach. It is mainly for stateless, or for easy access of the state. Whereas if you want your state to be stored, then you can, there is a provision for storing it into the DB as well. Then there is something called as a silo. So audience cluster. So when you call it's kind of a cluster, which is nothing but a network of computers or the servers that is present, and each server is called as a silo. So they have a different term for this as well. For example, this is one silo, this is one silo, this is one silo. They all become a group of one cluster, and that cluster itself is called as a audience cluster. And these things what you see in the black, these are called as the grains. So you can have millions of grains or actors presented within the system, and they will be hosted within your silo. So each silo incorporates a lot of actors or grains. So it's a host for a grain. It manages the life cycle of a grain. So each silo manages the life cycle of a grain. Generally have a one silo per node or container or machine. So you can have one silo in a machine or a container or a machine. A cluster is used for fault tolerance and scalability. For example, today you feel that you need more processing or more power, then you can just increase the number of silos or the number of machines within the cluster. Coming to the deployment, as well as a cluster, it can be on a cloud. uh, then now recently it got a support for Kubernetes. So there are, I've seen a couple of tutorials where people have deployed it on Kubernetes as well. Even our application is running on Kubernetes, which is leveraging the Microsoft Audience runtime. Coming to the dashboard. So this is the dashboard. It provides just to check the health of the Orleans cluster with respect to the silos that is present and the greens that is present, and how many are active, how many are inactive. So those kind of things it provides. So for example, if you go to the grains section, you will see how many grains that are active at that point of time, how many silos are present within that cluster. So it can be one for if you're running it on a single machine. It can be multiple if you are running on a cluster of machines. Then this is a reminder. So there is a concept of a reminder that does the background job in a if you want to perform any background job, then you can use leverage the concept of reminders in Orleans. Each reminder, the uh, behavior that it provides is uh, reminders allows you to perform background operations even on a grain. Even if a grain fails or something happens to the grain, the reminder continue to work on a different grain. The silo takes care of that, moving the load from one grain to the another grain. So reminders are at the silo level, but it is being, the work that is being given to the reminder is being performed by the grain itself. Okay, so now it's time for a demo. Okay. So I'll walk you through application right from scratch. Okay, so basically there are four projects that I'm going to create. The first one is the interface project, where we will have the interfaces in order to provide the loose coupling between the system component. Then there will be a implementation for this, a library project for implementation for the interface. Then there will be a server or a host, which is nothing but we call it a silo in audience terms, and a client, which will access these things. So I'll just go through that one. So first one is I'll create a okay. Sorry about that. The system is a little bit slow. So first I'll add, so I'm going to create a simple hello world application. So it will be a project holds only the interfaces that is required for this application. I'm using .NET 5. Okay. Yeah. So there are a couple of NuGet packages that we have to add. That is from the Orleans in order for this to work. First one is Microsoft.orleans.abstractions. So I'll add this. Okay, this is added. And there's something called as a code generator that is from Orleans. So what it does, it takes the interfaces and try to create a implementation of that one, so that it mainly acts as a proxy to the concrete class that we are going to have, so that client can have a knowledge on that one. Okay, so these two got added. I just rename this.
The sharper is getting a little bit in the way.
So there is something called as a key that is required to access a grain. So we need to derive this. Sorry, here it's not required actually. So we just have a simple method in this. So as I told that everything is asynchronous, so that means it should be task based. All the methods present in Orleans should be asynchronous and it should be task based. And say hi, say hello. So just have a look at this output. Keep an eye on this, and I'll show you one thing. I try to build this. So you see the Orleans code generator command line. What it is doing is it is trying to generate a implementation of this one, or it is trying to create a metadata out of this interface. So this is not a plain interface now. The audience is involved in this one. Once it is built, so if we go here, and if you see here, there's some file that gets generated. For example, this, you see hello world interfaces.orleans.cs file. If I look at it, this is being generated by Orleans. So this is nothing but your interface that we have defined. Okay. So this is about this. Now we are going to add the next project. That is the implementation of this interface. That is also a class library. I'll call it hello world. Create it. So here also I need to add some references. So first one is as I'm going to implement the interface, so it should have access to the interface. Now coming to the NuGet packages. So abstractions is required, and the code generator. Cool. So here I'll say hello world. Okay. So this should be right from grain, which is nothing but our actor provided by audience, and it should implement I hello world. So I'm just going to return result. Grain ID. So this is the implementation for that. I forgot one thing. Yeah. So this has to be derived from iGrain from. Yeah. So what it tells that there is a key that is of type string. So there are different keys that are present within Orleans. You can have a grain with integer key, with long key, and based on your requirement. If you are taking IDs, then it should be integer or long. But here we are considering string as a key. So each grain will hold its own key that will be unique to itself. So this is done. This is also done. Yeah. So now if I build it, it should build. Oh, yeah. So I forgot to derive the interface from green with primary with the string key. That's why we didn't see this the interface information in our file that was generated by Orlean. Now you could see that it has got that information. For example, you have a hello world interface and it has say hello and everything. The whatever method that we have in the interface, that is also now part of this Orleans generated code. So these are two things. Now we are going to add a server or a silo. That will be a console app. Okay. So here also we need to add some dependencies. Dependencies. First is the project references. So we have these two projects. Then we need to add some NuGet packages. So first one is abstractions. And second one is server. This is a host. So we are going to add a server NuGet package. Okay. So now a little code a very developer friendly code that is required for it to work. As it is going to return a task, then I need to return So first we are going to create the host silo host builder that will create the silo for us. The audience runtime will create it. Then we say that we are going to use the local setup or local clustering. We can provide Azure as well if required, but for this demo purpose, I'm using everything local. And configure logging, just to display the things happening on the console. Oh, for this, I have to add another Nugget package. That's why. Okay. So this will create the builder. Now we are going to create the host. This host builder. Now we are going to start the server or the host. Silo server started. And if you want to exit, once user presses that, then we just stop it and come out. That's all. So this is the only thing that is required for the setup of our silo or the audience runtime to work. Only this much of code. So it makes things very simple. Now if you just run it, we should be able to run it. So that logging library was used to put these logs on the console. So we can see that message has come, Silo server is started. And if you see here, yeah. So it is saying that it has loaded the grains, okay, for 9 types. So one of the green type is hello world green. So we haven't specified anywhere in the Silo project about our hello world green or our library. We just added a reference to it, but we haven't accessed it. So what if we don't specify anything? What Orleans does it checks in the directory where this project is there and see if any Orleans based grain is present in any of those projects. So it just scanned through that one and got that there is a grain called as a hello world grain. So this is one of the grain that got loaded in the system. And there are some other grains as well, which is part of Orleans runtime that also got loaded. But our grain has been loaded here successfully. So this is something to look after if you want to troubleshoot this. Then it is saying starting silo. Okay, so everything is running fine as of now on the server side. So this is a very least code that is required now. I'll go quickly at the client as well. So here also I need to add. So I'm going to add reference to the interface only here because client doesn't know anything about the concrete class or the grain. Similarly, I have to add some references. One is your abstractions. And so something called my client. So in the silo side, we added a package reference to the server. Here we are going to add for the client. And the last one here is your logging library. That's all. So here, mostly the code is very much similar. Okay. So instead of silo host builder, we have client builder. Same thing. Then host builder, then here we are just connecting it. So here I'll send a message and press any key to continue. And here close. Now here comes the actual part of calling the my interface method. So I'll say hello world green equals host dot get green. So this will give me the implementation of my interface, that is nothing but your green. And here I'll provide the key. So key can be like hello, then dot say hello. So message could be okay. Message, I think we should get console dot I'll take it from the user input, pass it what message we want to send. It will return me the response, and I'll just print that. And I'll print the grain ID as well. So it should be coming back the same thing, the hello. So, get from your key string. So if everything is okay, this should work. I'll open one more instance of this one. So here I'll run the host. Okay, so my hello server has started. Okay. So Silo has started. Now I'm going to you could see that the connection has been client has been connected, and a similar message will be present here. So that the communication channel has been established now with the Silo. I'll send a message, and so I could see that the message has been received. If I do it again, so it while debugging as well. So this is the implementation for my interface for the green. So if I send a message from the client, I should be able to hit this breakpoint. See. So that message is coming to the server through a proxy that is being generated by the Silo or the all instant time. Okay. So I had a few things more planned, but in the interest of the time, I'll just skip over that one. But my whole code and everything is available on GitHub, just in case if you need. So I'll wrap it up. Okay. So these are the links for the resources. This is for the getting started sample documentation. Then there is a very good community support on GitHub app, which is the link for that one is this one. So generally you get a response within 24 hours from the Microsoft team. So I've been following that one, and they have been very helpful in that one. The slides and source for this presentation can be found at this link. I'll share it in the chat as well. And now I'm open for the questions.